Hi there guys, welcome to Boxpred and thank you for tuning in. It's been a really busy week for me. I haven't been able to make any videos and so I haven't been able to go into as much depth as I would have liked with some of these fights that are happening tonight. And I'm cutting it short, but I really wanted to get my thoughts out there on these fights because we've got some good fights. Like I said, I've been pushed for time, haven't really had a lot of chance to look at them in depth. So I'm just working on the assumption that all the fights are going ahead as they were scheduled last time I checked. And I just picked the fights that stood out to me. So let's get into it. The first fight I want to address is Jason Sosa going up against Stephen Smith. Now this is for Sosa's WBA World Super Featherweight title. I think that Sosa is going to beat Stephen Smith in this fight, and I think he potentially gets the stoppage. I don't know what the general consensus is on this fight, but you have to remember that in Sosa, we're talking about a guy who went the distance with Nicholas Walters not so long ago, looked very good against him, took Walters' best shots, and Walters is known for power. He's known for having a very big punch, and he gave back quite a lot. He gave a good account of himself in that fight, and it was a draw. It ended a draw. So he drew with Nicholas Walters, a guy who's going in there now with Vasyl Lomachenko in a couple of weeks' time, and we're all talking about this. This is such a good fight. Well, Sosa drew with Walters. Whether you think that was a draw or not, he stayed in the fight. He gave Walters a lot to think about. Sosa's got good movement. I like the way he punches. I like the fact that he punches with some conviction. And another thing, we're talking about a guy here who, in his last 15 fights, I believe, he has won 14, all by stoppage. And there's that draw, if you count 15th as a draw, with Nicholas Walters. So in every win he's had in his last 14 wins have come by stoppage. So this guy has power. And the only blip is against Walters, who many would class as world class in the division. A guy who's right up there, pushing to be one of the best in the division, and a guy who people really rate. Sosa was very competitive with him. So Smith is good. Smith really has his work cut out here. And yes, I saw the size difference, or the difference in height between Smith and Sosa in the weigh-in. But I also saw a difference in physique as well. Sosa's is more filled out than Smith. Smith is pretty thin, and I think that if Sosa looks to get inside and work the body, it can be a long night for Smith. Smith can try and box from the outside, something that Walters isn't really known for, perhaps. And I think that's probably Smith's perhaps his best chance if he wants to move and box. But I really think he's going to have a tough night against Sosa. Sosa's a good puncher. He's got power. He's a good mover. He's a good boxer. He's not the type of guy that you're just going to outbox. He'll take it to the trenches with you. I'm expecting him just to take Stephen Smith to the trenches. I'm expecting him to go to the body. I'm expecting him to put some really good inside uppercuts, some really good hooks in there. And Smith, he has some power too. He's got his own sort of. He's not known for having power, but I think he's got the power to potentially hurt his opponent. And Sosa's got to watch out for that in this fight. But I really see that it's all in Sosa's corner here. I really think that this is going to be Sosa's fight, and I think he's going to stop Smith. So maybe I'm missing something here. But when I saw this, another thing to add to it, last time out, Sosa defeated Javier Fortuna by stoppage. Okay, TKO. So again, something else to throw in there. This guy, for me, Sosa's a guy that if you weren't really aware of and you weren't really familiar with, you need to get familiar with him. I think he's a pretty good force in the division. He's very competitive at the top level, at least. We saw that against Walters. He's just stopped Fortuna. So regardless, in and around that weight, I know guys are jumping up weights. I don't have the specific details off the top of my head about the different weights these guys have fought at. I know Walters was sort of coming up, I think. So there's question marks. Did his power carry all that business? But Walters has power. Full stop. Okay. So Fortuna's fight for me I think he wins, and I think he stops Stephen Smith. Javier Fortuna is also fighting, the guy I just mentioned. He's going up against Omar Douglas. I don't know anything about Douglas. I don't know that much about Javier Fortuna, to be honest with you. Just for transparency purposes. But I'm assuming, looking at that fight, looking at their records, he's stepping up against Fortuna here, Douglas, and I think that Fortuna should take a decision victory in this fight. I don't really have much more to add. It's not for any titles. I think it's just a regular, just a bout for nothing really. But I would expect Fortuna to come through with a decision in that fight. Omar Douglas unbeaten, of course, but his opponents haven't been great. He's fought a couple of decent people, but nothing on Fortuna's level as far as I'm aware. The big heavyweight fight, Luis Ortiz going up against Malik Scott. This is for the vacant WBA Intercontinental Heavyweight title. I'm expecting Luis Ortiz, like many people, I'm expecting Luis Ortiz to win by stoppage. I'm expecting him to get to Malik Scott and stop him. I actually watched a video recently. It was an interview. iFilm London did an interview with Malik Scott, and he comes across extremely well. He comes across as very educated, in boxing, and not just boxing, but he seems really grounded. He makes no excuses for any mistakes he's made, for any losses he's had. He's of the opinion it's all down to him. It's nice, it's quite refreshing to see a boxer be so open and be so honest and actually have a brain and take responsibility for things that have gone wrong for him. And he does have a good boxing brain. I can tell by listening to him speak. He's not. A lot of time you hear boxers speak, and you wonder, they really need guidance. Because yes, they might be good enough to be professional boxers in the ring, but sometimes you would think they need to analyse the game a bit more and be more aware of what's to do with game plans and to do with, maybe they do rely on their trainers and things. That's what they're there for. But Malik Scott came across really well. I thought he sounded like a really really nice guy, a decent guy. He really spoke generously of other people in the division. He wasn't slagging people off. He was being realistic, and a lot of the comments on that video, people were saying before they didn't really care, but now they really wish him well. They kind of hope he puts in a good performance against Ortiz, and I think that with all the best intentions, I think that sometimes you can have the right mind, but when you get in the ring, you start getting hit. Then it gets difficult, and I think for the early part of the fight, if Scott's on his game, he'll perhaps be able to fight off the back foot, use his speed, use some range and some skills and movement to keep Ortiz off balance and really just try and escape and stay out of harm's way and land shots where he can. And I think he could potentially take some rounds early on, but I think that Ortiz is the type of guy who he will sort of work Scott out, and as the fight goes on, maybe the second half of the fight, if it gets that far, maybe mid to mid late, I see Ortiz just catching up with him, kind of walking forward, and because Ortiz has skills as well, so especially when he's attacking, I like the way that he sets guys up. I like the way that he throws his punches, his combinations. He's pretty calculated, so I think that he'll end up calculating Scott and he'll end up hurting him. And I think he'll stop him. So I'm expecting Luis Ortiz to win that fight, but early on it could be reasonably competitive. And let's see what Scott has. Let's see if he has enough to really cause some trouble and some problems for King Kong and make him have to think a bit more. And you never know. Could be decent. Danny Garcia against Samuel Vargas. Not much to say about this fight really. I'm expecting Garcia to stop Vargas. Don't really care about this fight, to be honest. It is what it is. So, good fight. Jamie McDonnell going up against Liborio Solis, WBA World Bantamweight title, which McDonnell has. I see McDonnell winning a decision here. I really like Jamie McDonnell. I called him back when he won the world title originally, before he was stripped and the business went on. When he originally won the world title before, his first world title, I called him to beat that guy. And because I saw something in McDonnell that I felt is the real deal. The guy's a really good outside fighter. He uses his physical attributes to their utmost. He really is a trainer's dream. He knows his capabilities. He knows his strengths. He knows his advantages. both from a mental and a physical standpoint, and he utilises them perfectly. Really good outside fighter, and he's had this monopoly in the ring since he's got the title, whereby he's fighting guys who are good guys, but they're smaller than him. And this guy's no different. If you saw the weigh-in, this guy's a smaller guy. McDonald's going to have the height and reach advantage, and I just see him employing the same game plan where he just jabs all night long, he stays on the outside, and he's a skilled boxer. I haven't seen a lot of Solis, but I'm expecting him to be decent. But he has some losses on his record, and I just think that he's going to be a guy who can be outboxed by a guy like Jamie McDonnell. And I think McDonnell would admit that he will be disappointed if he loses to this guy, his title to this guy. So I'm expecting Jamie McDonnell to do the business. I'm expecting him to get the decision victory. And I'm looking forward to seeing what type of display he puts on, because I do like watching Jamie McDonnell box. I really do. I really rate him. And finally, Martin Murray's fight against Nuhu Lawal. Lawal, I think Murray should just do a decision victory, similar to Jamie McDonnell. I think Murray's going to do a decision victory, but he's going to do the business. He's going to get a decision victory over Lawal. Lawal looks like a half decent fighter, but he looks kind of like a domestic level fighter, European perhaps. I know he's not from Europe, but originally, but he's that type of fighter who is a decent guy, but not the type of guy Martin Murray should be worrying too much about. He's not that quick. He has some decent movement, but he's always off balance. Lawal he's often off balance, and Murray is the type of guy who can take advantage, use that jab to keep him off balance, entice him in, let him go a bit wild with his punches, let him get off balance, and then counter punch. Just capitalise on his mistakes basically. And I think that, you know, Murray's not the biggest puncher in the world. Lawal looks like he could be quite tough. And I think that Martin Murray's going to go get the decision victory over Lawal. So there are my brief takes on all the fights, guys. I know they're not that in-depth. I apologise for that, but I just haven't had the time. So I hope that I've covered all the fights, the relevant fights really, that are going on this weekend. There might be one or two I missed. There was something I wanted to mention. Yeah. There was something I wanted to mention about Solis for the McDonnell fight, but I forget what it is. I think he lost a couple of fights ago to Shinzuki Yamanaka. That's what I wanted to mention. And Yamanaka's still unbeaten. Yamanaka's a good fighter. I think it was a stoppage victory that he lost. But I think, yeah, that doesn't really change what I was saying. Anyway, I'll stop there. Enjoy the fights, guys. Enjoy the weekend. Thanks for tuning in as always. Please let me know your comments and let me know your thoughts if you disagree or if you agree. This is Boxbred. I'm out.